You know that moment, right? It's Sunday afternoon. The world outside seems calm, peaceful even. You've told yourself you'll finally take a break. Maybe watch something. Maybe just rest on your couch and stare into space. You've earned this rest, haven't you? After all, you spent your entire week running from task to task, juggling responsibilities, fighting deadlines, being there for others. This quiet moment should feel good. It should feel right, but instead, it feels wrong. A quiet unease settles into your chest. You pick up your phone to distract yourself. You scroll mindlessly through the endless feeds, hoping to quiet the restless feeling inside you. But the guilt creeps in anyway, like an unwanted guest whispering slowly into your ear. You're wasting your time. You could be doing something useful right now. Everyone else is out there achieving something while you're here doing nothing. This voice isn't loud, at least not at first. It's subtle, quiet, but persistent. And soon, it starts to feel suffocating. You put the phone down, shift restless in your seat, trying to rationalize why it's okay to relax, why it's acceptable to slow down for a moment. Yet, no matter how much you rationalize, the guilt intensifies. The voice gets louder, clearer. It feels as if your worth as a person is tied directly to how productive you've been today. It doesn't matter how exhausted you are, your brain insists you could and should be doing more. If you have felt this way, you're not alone. Maybe you feel this way every weekend, every night after work, every moment you dare to pause in a culture obsessed with constant motion and endless productivity. Maybe, like me, you find yourself trapped in these silent battles frequently. Battles invisible to everyone but you, yet intensely draining. I remember reading Haruki Murakami's word in Kafka on the Shore. Silence, I discover, is something you can actually hear. It struck me because it described exactly how this guilt feels. It's the silence of your mind wrestling with itself, a quiet conflict that leaves you restless, drained, and yet unwilling to admit defeat. It's a silence filled with self criticism, comparison, and fear. Fear that resting means you're falling behind. Why is it so hard to rest without feeling guilty? Why has doing nothing become something we must justify even to ourselves? These are the questions that haunt many of us. And today, we are going to confront them gently, slowly, and honestly. Because you deserve a break from feeling guilty about taking a break. So, let's explore this together. Let's untangle this complicated web of emotions. Let's understand why it feels impossible to rest, and more importantly, how to finally allow yourself the freedom, the genuine, guilt free freedom to simplify this or simplify to be still. You ready? Let's begin. Why do we struggle so profoundly with the simple act of doing nothing? To really grasp this, we have to dig beneath the surface to understand not just our habits but the deep seated psychology behind why stillness feels uncomfortable or even unacceptable. Let's start here. You weren't born feeling guilty about resting. Think back to when you were younger. Children naturally know how to play, to rest, to waste hours simply enjoying life without purpose or productivity in mind. Yet, somewhere along the lines, we lose this ability. We are taught to value actions above anything else, movement above stillness, and doing above being. But why? At its core, this guilt about resting arises from the internalized belief system that equates your worth with your output. Psychologists have a term for this. It's called internalized capitalism. It's a heavy phrase, I know, but let's break it down. Internalized capitalism is a deeply ingrained belief that your personal value is directly tied to your productivity. We absorb this message from our families, schools, workplaces, and most profoundly from society itself. Think of the common messages we hear growing up. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. Don't waste time, time is money. If you are resting, someone else is getting ahead. These messages quietly embed themselves into our subconscious, becoming part of our integral or internal dialogue. Before we even notice, we are criticizing ourselves for needing rest, as if exhaustion is proof of worthiness and stillness evidence of failure. And here's the thing, this mindset isn't accidental, it's structural. Our society thrives on the narrative that restlessness, productivity equals success. Let me say it again to you. Restless productivity equals success. Look around. On social media, we are flooded with stories of entrepreneurs who work 18 hours a day, influencers who glamorize constant hustle, and friends or colleagues who celebrate their exhaustions like Medal of Honor. Rest, on the other hand, is rarely praised or valued. It's often subtly mocked or viewed as a laziness in disguise. I want to share something from Brené Brown's brilliant work, Daring Greatly. She writes about how we wear exhaustion as a badge of honor. Brown says, we are bought into the idea that if we are busy, we are important. If we are exhausted, we are valuable. Does this resonate with you? It certainly did resonate with me. When someone asks how we've been, how often do we proudly reply, busy? As if busyness automatically confers value, importance, and worth. But let's also understand this. Our brain reinforces this guilt. Evolutionarily, humans have always been creatures driven to act, to move, to be vigilant. Thousands of years ago, inactivity could mean danger, vulnerability, or even death. Our brains evolved to push us into action, to keep us alert and responsive. Today, while there might not be lions chasing us, our brain still interprets prolonged stillness or rest as vulnerability at or a risk. The stress we feel when we are inactive for too long is a biological echo of our ancient past. Combine that evolutionary wiring with today's hyperconnected, productivity obsessed culture, and you have a perfect recipe for constant guilt about doing nothing. But here's the irony, rest isn't beneficial, it's vital. Studies repeatedly confirm that genuine purposeful rest actually enhances creativity, productivity, and emotional health. The human brain, far from thriving on constant activity, desperately needs period of rest to process experiences, consolidate memories, and maintain mental health. When we deny ourselves meaningful rest, we are not just hurting our peace, we are actively diminishing our long term ability to function effectively. The guilt we feel when resting is also amplified by another psychological factor: social comparison. Leon Festinger's social comparison theory explains that humans naturally evaluate themselves by comparing their lives to those around them. And today's social media has accelerated its comparison to unprecedented levels. We see carefully curated glimpses into others' seemingly non stop productivity. And subconsciously, we ask ourselves, why can't I keep up? This constant comparison deepens our guilt, intensifies the belief that if we pause and even briefly, we are falling behind. So, here's the crucial thing that I want you to internalize right now: your guilt isn't a flaw, it's a response to a flawed system. It doesn't mean something is inherently wrong with you. It means something has gone profoundly wrong with our collective view of what it means to live a meaningful life. Understand this, psychology helps us take a first crucial steps towards compassion. Compassion towards ourselves when we feel restless, compassion towards ourselves when we struggle with resting, and compassion when the voice of guilt inevitably shows up again. Here's a gentle thought for reflection before we move forward. Ask yourself, when did rest become something I must earn? What would happen if, for once, I allowed myself genuine stillness without needing justification? Can I begin to separate my worth from my productivity? Sit with these questions gently. We don't need immediate answers. We are just creating space right now. Space to understand, space to reflect, and space to eventually heal. Because the truth is, your worth is intrinsic. It's not tied to your output, your busy schedule, or the restless pace at which you work. Recognizing this truth, truly believing it, is a radical act. In challenges that very structure that has trained us to value ourselves based solely on our ability to produce. As we begin to see clearly why resting feels so hard, we can begin to build a healthier, gentler relationship with doing nothing. And that's exactly where we'll go next, to the place of gentle healing and understanding. Stay with me, okay? Before we wrap up today, I want you to pause with me right now. Wherever you are, just breathe gently. One slow inhale, one gentle exhale. Notice how it feels to simply slow down, even for this brief moment. Notice your shoulders loosening, the tension easing slightly, the quiet permissions you are granting yourselves, perhaps without even realizing it. This is exactly what I hope you take away from our conversation today: permission. Permission to pause, permission to rest, permission to be still without justification, without guilt, and without apology. We have explored the uncomfortable truth about why rest feels so hard, so guilt ridden. We have looked honestly at the pressures we face from society, from social comparison, and even from our own biology. And now, it's time to gently reframe the narrative. Instead of viewing rest as a luxury, let's learn to see it as an essential part of our daily lives, a quiet necessity as natural as breathing. I recently revisited the beautiful Italian concept called dolce far niente, which translates to the sweetness of doing nothing. It's not laziness, it's not wastefulness, it's simply the joy of existing, the quiet peace of savoring a moment without an agenda. Imagine what it would be like to truly embrace Dolce de Far Niache in your own life. Imagine allowing yourselves the moment where your only responsibility is to simply to exist, to appreciate and to breathe. Perhaps the greatest comfort we can offer ourselves in this realization, rest is productive. It heals us, rejuvenates our minds and enhances our creativity and even replenishes our spirit. Every moment you spend resting isn't wasted. It's deeply invested in your well-being. And in the long run, it's the most sustainable way to live meaningful, fully and compassionately. Next time the voice of guilt whispers to you and it will try gently responding with kindness. Say quietly firmly, my value is not defined by what I accomplish today. I am worthy simply by existing. Rest is necessary, rest is valid, and I deserve it. Remember, reframing takes practice and patience. You won't erase years of conditioning overnight, but every small act of intentional rest, every moment you reclaim as guilt free, is a powerful step towards genuine peace. I want you to leave with a simple, compassionate challenge. After you finish this podcast, schedule just 15 minutes this week for intentional, purposeful rest. Block it in your calendar, guard it fiercely, and honor it as if you would any other important meeting. This is your meeting with yourself, your time to reconnect, to heal, to just be. If today's discussion resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. Visit talkwithjared.com or join me on social media to share your experiences and reflection. Let's normalize conversations around rest and support each other in reclaiming the joy of stillness. And please, if this podcast made a difference, consider subscribing on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you are listening now. Your subscription helps this conversation reach others who might need the gentle reminder that rest isn't a luxury, it's a human right. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Remember, you don't need permission from anyone else to rest, to pause, to heal. You only need permissions from yourself. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. You're already enough. Take care.